Welcome back to the London Football Show emergency podcast. Apparently, so not often we have one of those, but big week.
After we get a look in with Sion, so we've demanded the man attends.
Yeah. Literally, I'm getting the message on my way home yesterday. Oh, podcast tomorrow. I was like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. So, obviously, big week of football. People through to finals. Some people will be watching to see which rival wins. Well, I guess there's only one place to start, isn't it? Who wants to start? Who wants to start? Arsenal out of the Champions League. You would have thought a couple of weeks ago they won the final against Real Madrid, but the key part was that they had the word quarter before the word final. I think some people tried to scratch off that word and like let's just end it here, but that's not how it works, unfortunately. And obviously they were dealt with in Paris on was it Wednesday? Was it Wednesday evening now? Yeah, glorious Wednesday evening. I watched it at Rosanfan's house. And yeah, beautiful PSG. Obviously, first goal at the Parc de France was always going to be massive. So once PSG got that, it pretty much was the final nail in the coffin. And yeah, what are your thoughts on it, both of you? And where do Arsenal go from here? Most importantly, where do they go from here? Mhm.
Bottle drops. They couldn't hold the bottle. It all came down to this. They were desperate for a trophy. They put so much emphasis on the Champions League. We know the Champions League is a tough competition. Let's not kid ourselves. It's not often someone wins it. We haven't won it since 2008. Sion, your club has won it twice. It's not an easy competition. I feel like them beating Madrid 5-1 on aggregate, having that momentum coming into the semi-final, they thought, they were on a pedestal, they could go on and win this. I don't think they really understood what was on the line, the severity, but also given how poor their season has been. When you look at the other competitions, should have beaten Newcastle, or the expectation was should have beaten Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, went on to the final. Man City fell off in the league. They should have been the ones to go and capitalize on that. They didn't. So everything ultimately came onto this competition. And so the expectation exceeded what they should have. And unfortunately, they didn't deliver. And now people are saying that Arsenal fans are being reactionary, but in my opinion, I don't think they are. They're tired of Arteta not winning anything. They've put all their hope into one. They've put all the eggs into one basket now, and it's not gone through for them. They failed.
You know what? Yeah. I know obviously most sort of fan bases is when Arsenal lose, everyone sort of comes together. And if you see Mikel Arteta, what he said after the match, that's why when he said what the best team's been eliminated, he lied. He's like the PSG bench and stuff. They all said Arsenal were the better team. So I think because he knows he's got the backing of the majority of the fans, it's gotten to his head. He's big-headed now. He's arrogant without the silverware to back it up. I don't know how you can say your team's been the best team in the competition and not go on to win it. He didn't even congratulate PSG. He's
Yes, yeah, you
salty.
used the right word,
Salty,
arrogant.
man.
Not once did he praise PSG. Not once did he say something good about PSG, the other opponents. He
Hmm?
mentioned nothing. It was all centered on Arsenal. It's almost like Arsenal revolves around football. Not once did he talk about how good. The only time he praised someone was Donnarumma, and even then, it seemed like he was trying to dig at Raya. I don't agree
Yeah.
with it. I don't agree with how you approach the situation. You are the spokesperson for Arsenal Football Club. That is not how you handle a post-match interview, especially given what you've been through in the past 5 seasons and where your club is at. You've handled it poorly. And so I'm sorry, but I have no sympathy towards him. And there's a reason why, unfortunately, majority of the football fan base has all come together to witness, some might say, a successful hate watch.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's how you can say that. Yeah, go on, James.
no, my opinion's very clear on it, and I think the reason he talks a lot about Arsenal and he tries to promote Arsenal after defeats like that is that I feel he's hanging on. He's hanging on. Like you can't go on that long for a man or allegedly at that caliber. And he's a good coach, he's a good manager, but he can't get them over the winning line. He can't get them to that, not even to the final, but the final to win it. And I just think he every time he will always maintain how good Arsenal are, and you only do that towards the end of like a tenure that's not working. Like most people outside of Arsenal will want him to stay there because they know the potential is it'll be another season again next year. They're exactly the same. That they do well, but they won't buy the right players. They won't go in for the right players, and they think they can do it the Arsenal way. Well, we've had 5 years of it, and it's not worked. So something has to give. either they go out and they try and buy these world-class striker or whatever, or they change the management. They got to do something because at the moment, we all know that if if Arsenal had won that and gone through to the final, we wouldn't hear the end of it. Were the
Yeah.
Arsenal fans,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and that's the problem with the Arsenal fans. But they would have done that like they did when they beat Real Madrid. Yeah, but Declan Rice, ex West Ham, fantastic player, pleased for him. But he's never going to do a game like that where he scores two worldy free kicks. But
Oh,
they're
exactly.
delusional. They're delusional that they think they was that good that they would go and win the semi-final comfortably and win the final based on that one game alone. And I just think you can't do that. And that's why I think everyone is not against Arsenal, but they jump on it when Arsenal don't make it because it's just laughable. Because if they would have won that semi-final, they would have thought they would have won the final without turning up. Well, they didn't
Yeah.
win the semi-final. They're not in the final. They're struggling to get second place in the Premier League because
Yeah.
they've been that poor. And consistently over the last 2 or 3 seasons, regardless of the statement or the phrasing, however you put it about they had more points in the last 2 seasons that Liverpool did this season and could show they could have won the title, whatever. They've consistently over 2 or 3 seasons, definitely last season and this season, lost to teams at home where they should have won. We
Yeah.
beat them again. West Ham beat them again. Bournemouth won for the first time. So they can't do it. They can't rely on this brand of football that Arteta wants to play without. And you can't I'm not being funny. I even heard afterwards they even went down the Tottenham route of saying they had injuries. They played. Someone said they played a whole campaign without 3 or 4 key players. But if
Yeah.
you're an Arsenal, you have replacements for those key players if you want to win, if
Yeah.
you want to have success. Mourinho had it years ago where he wanted 2 high-profile players in every position for
Yeah.
that reason. That if your key fullback, your striker, was out injured, you had a ready-made replacement. Arteta did not buy well this season, yet again, at the key points in the summer and at Christmas. And Arsenal have got the money to buy. But the problem is, does a world-class striker want to go to Arsenal?
Yeah, well, it's true. Touching back on, I'm glad you brought up that point. You know, the cheek of Arteta when he said the points tally of Liverpool. Liverpool have 82 points. There's 3 games left. If Liverpool win their remaining 3 games, they'll finish on 91 points. When Arsenal were 8 points clear 2 years ago, they finished on 84 points. And when they lost it last year, they lost it on 89 points. So Liverpool could still exceed even last season's tally. But so the timing of him saying that, he knew what he's doing. He's a nasty guy, man. The
Yeah,
season ain't even
that's
done.
what's completely
Yeah,
irrelevant.
it's
Like,
irrelevant. It's
irrelevant.
irrelevant as well. But I'm saying it's irrelevant, and the cheek of him to say it when the season's not even done, just
But
to
it's
talk
my
about it, and then
Seal.
yeah, go on, yeah,
It's
go,
my point. Exactly what I'm trying to say to you. He's spinning it. To still
yeah,
make out Arsenal are good,
yeah, yeah,
rather than
yeah.
accepting and saying congratulations PSG, congratulations Liverpool. We just didn't have, and we need to do
Try
this
again
and we
next
need
year
to
and all
do
this sort of stuff.
this.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, we were the best team that got knocked out. Oh, we could have won two
yeah. Man,
Premier Leagues.
with the best second place.
I'm
This,
fed up with it. I'm fed up with it.
you know
It
what?
needs to be like, just be honest and say you've got it wrong again, and this is what I'm going to do. Not band on the wagon that like, oh, we would have won 2 Premier Leagues in the last 2 seasons if we had the points that Liverpool had
Yeah,
this year. We were the better team. The better team got knocked out in the semi-finals of the Champions League.
What I
you know
What does
personally
what?
that
can't
mean?
get my head
Yeah, go on.
around is if you
What does
compare
that
the
mean?
Wenger and Arteta comparison head to head, the way he was treated and scrutinized, Arteta is not getting the same treatment.
Oh yeah, yeah. Wenger got
Wenger built
hounded
his
out.
built his statue, got the 3 Prems, and was consistently getting top 4. And that wasn't good enough for Arsenal fans. Remember,
Hmm?
towards the end of this, remember the Wenger outs, the banners. Remember, certain famous profilers or fans would come out marching and doing what they would protest. They said it wasn't good enough. But now Arteta is doing exactly the same thing without backing up with trophies. Why is he so heavily protected? Let's go back to Man United with Ten Hag. How many times was he getting scrutinized in the press? Leading up to when he won the FA Cup, brutally getting damaged. Not good enough. Why the eighth? Blah blah. Arteta is getting protected, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they have this conspiracy. They're trying to, like, secretly. They want Arteta to be there and prolong the failure. But for me, there's a limit to how long he can keep doing this. No way can a top five manager go 5 seasons without winning anything and think it's acceptable. It's not. Fair enough. He's taken Arsenal to a better place, but is that good enough? He can't get over the finishing line. At what stage do you say enough is enough? We need to move on. Thank you. We've done what you can. We now need someone that's a serial winner and that'll win us a trophy. Because four finals, four semi-finals in the past 5 seasons, they failed to progress on. Scored one goal. That's
One
not
goal
good
in
enough.
seven semi-finals or something. I
One goal
saw.
in 7 semi-finals.
That is
I'm surprised,
crazy.
but Arsenal fans believe he is the one. Certain Arsenal fans. I know certain Arsenal fans have said from the start that Arteta was not good enough, he wasn't qualified. Fair enough. But some people also stuck with him, backed him. That's fine. But there needs to be a point. You need to like accept that there's a certain level of tolerance you can only have where you say, okay, this is it. I know certain Arsenal fans have already said one more season and he's gone. For me, I think now he should be on performance review now. Every single thing he does needs to be
Yeah.
scrutinized. Because if not,
I think
Arsenal
you're
are
right.
going to
I
go
think you're right.
another
Because it's
season.
arguing, did they get it wrong before Arteta with Uri Emery? Did they not give him long enough? So now they've gone down that route of giving the manager long enough, which they've done with Arteta. But now is it too long? Is it now too long they've
I
given him?
think it's too long.
Because
Well, look
if
at
he
Wenger.
stays,
Look at
if he
Wenger's
stays,
final 5 years.
if he stays next season and he wins the league or he wins the Champions League, right? That's still only one success in 5 or 6 years. That's still poor. Is he then going to maintain that? It could. It feels like whatever he does, and if he does win it, it's a one-off. It's not like they challenge every. Someone said, "Oh, to an I don't know who they were interviewing. They were interviewing an Arsenal player. It might have been Declan Rice at the end of his interview. The reporter said, "Oh, quarter final 2 years ago, semi final this year. What is it next year?" Well, the way Arsenal talk, they talk as if they're in the final every year. It's not
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, if that's the progression you want, fair enough. But don't act as if you deserve and should be in the final and you're the best team and like it's a walk in the park. It doesn't work like that. Don't get me wrong. Arteta, from a coach's point of view, there's a lot of the players like him. He's very good. He's very, he's got the knowledge, he's got the know-how. But when nothing is working and you're not winning, which is what Arsenal is all about, there comes a point where the club at the top need to look at it and think, thank you very much. Who can we get in that's going to get us across that winning line? Who can we pay the money for and get it? Or are they going to throw 80, 90 million for a striker that's going to guarantee them the goals that isn't going to get injured, or like the excuses of players being injured, and but I just think players ain't going to want to go to Arsenal. They signed Declan Rice. He's played 2 seasons now. They signed him for 100 million, and he's won nothing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The
He's
thing
won
is,
nothing.
you know what? You go back sort of 5 years ago. You know when he first won the FA Cup, we all remember what the narrative was, right? He won a trophy after 5 months. They started comparing him to Jurgen Klopp. They were like, yeah, Klopp took 4 years to win anything at Liverpool. Look, he's ahead. Look at the trajectory. Instead of winning the FA Cup and seeing, okay, let's see where we are in 3, 4 years' time when Klopp started winning. Now look, Klopp was winning the Champions League with Liverpool at the end of his third season, and the squad he inherited was way worse than the squad Arteta inherited. End of the fourth season, the year after, Prem, 2 years after that, both domestic cups. It's wonderful when you let sort of everything pan out, time over time. They're the most sort of reactionary in terms of they win one thing, get carried away with it.
Yeah, but I
Now when you
think,
see all these years pass by later,
yeah,
well now look, there's no
but
comparison.
that's
Klopp
the
won
that's the case
everything
in
with
point.
Liverpool.
That's the
Everything.
case in point, Sion. That's the right. The point is that that's because of the fan base as well. Like, you don't hear many other fan bases as crazy and delusional as Arsenal fans. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. And
Look
that
at
doesn't
look at
help the
Wenger's
matter.
final five
That
years. You
doesn't
know
help the
Wenger's last
matter.
5 years, he won 3 FA Cups, you know. Have they got better? Have they got better? Wenger won the FA Cup in 2014, 2015, and 2017, left in 2018. That's his final 5 years. He dunks over Arteta, and that's meant to be a finished Wenger.
Anyway, it was a nice evening on Wednesday night.
Oh, beautiful. It's a
We got,
beautiful.
I was just thinking just before we joined the call, right? Go take it back to Bournemouth. Imagine if you said before Bournemouth, lose to Bournemouth, both United and Spurs, the two teams they probably hate the most, get to the Europa League final. So someone they're gonna get dunked on. It's basically choosing your death. Which way do you want to die? You're dying. You just pick. The day before that, they get knocked out, and now Guard of Honor coming up at Anfield on Saturday. That's their last week and a half. That is the stuff of nightmares. It's the stuff of nightmares. You can't before the Bournemouth game. If you told Arsenal pick your worst nightmare, write your worst storyline, that's basically it. 100% in terms of that is the
But
worst
we all
storyline.
know, but the bizarre thing is, the most funny thing out of all this conversation for the last 10 minutes is you just brought it up, Sion. We all know, and I'll be ready for it. If Arsenal beat Liverpool, Arsenal fans will be back again saying, "Oh, there we go, we beat the Premier League champions. We should have." Do you know what I mean? We're back to square
Yeah,
one. It's like,
yeah.
come on, beat
Oh,
Arsenal. If you beat Liverpool, Arsenal fans, please just be humble and just be silent. Yeah, don't get delusional. You know that like, oh, we beat Real Madrid in a two-leg affair, and now we beat in the Premier League champion. You know, let's
I
not
know
get too
Liverpool.
carried away. Let's not get too carried away. But it
You
will
know what?
happen.
I think with Liverpool, I think obviously we gave them their guard of honor and stuff like that, and sort of I know what's it, Maresca and Slot. They don't have even Slot. They both talked nicely about each other, but I know Liverpool are not going to play that team they played against us against Arsenal. They can't stand Arsenal deep down because I
Yeah,
know they remember. Yeah,
Sion,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
entitled to that.
yeah, yeah,
It goes back to that point about Arteta and the points, and they
yeah,
had more points, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
exactly.
care. Liverpool have done enough this season to
Hundred
get the
percent,
right points to win the title. They can
100%.
lose all their next games. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly. Yeah,
season by
they've won
season.
the. Yeah,
West Ham could have won a title 20 years ago. You know what I mean? If we had the point,
yeah, and I
we
but
Completely
went
I,
right.
down. West Ham got relegated with 43, 44 points one
yeah, that was
season.
mental. Yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly.
unheard of. Do
Yeah,
I
yeah.
complain about that and say, "Oh, we wouldn't have got relegated last
And then you
season"?
have magic 40 points, we passed it and all this stuff.
Jesus
But you know
Christ!
Liverpool, right? I know when Liverpool, the players and stuff, they look at the media and see what sort of fans and everyone are saying. When Liverpool were 5 points clear, you know what they were saying? Oh, don't worry about Liverpool, Man City, they're the team. They're the team that we, as long as we finish above them, we'll win the league. Disrespecting Liverpool and Liverpool are 5 points clear, 6 points clear,
Anyway,
7 points clear. So I know
Sion, you're
Just
Liverpool.
saying
one more point. Just based on the comment that Arteta made about the points, right? It does not work in Arteta's favour at all. Liverpool don't beat the 89 mark and they win the Premier League. They can go and have a laugh at Arsenal. They do go and beat it. They can prove to Arsenal fans to be like, listen, speak
Now
truth.
what? 91
Now what?
points. A tally that they've never
Liverpool
reached.
have,
Invincible's
unfortunately,
got 90. Invincible's got
Liverpool have
90.
nothing to lose.
Still past that. Yeah,
Liverpool
yeah.
have nothing
Win
to
and they
win.
lose.
should, and they're entitled to that. They've got nothing to
100%.
lose.
100%.
But shall I just make a suggestion? Because we could have accused by our followers and people that watch this that we're turning into Arsenal and just talking about them. Let's move on. They've had enough now, Arsenal. We celebrated Wednesday. Let's
Ross,
just move on now and discuss.
Ross,
Let's not mention.
Europa League final. Europa League final. Your thoughts on it? Are you worried that it's another English club in the final, or what are you feeling about it?
Honestly, I have nothing to lose. I should, but I have nothing to lose. We came into the season knowing that, I was slightly a bit more optimistic that maybe Ten Hag might turn it around. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. He got let go and Amrin came in. Even when Amrin did come in, I did say that this wasn't going to be a walk in the park. I wasn't expecting drastic changes. Our squad is not good enough. We've seen that it's clearly not capable of being top 10 in the Prem, let alone top 12 or top 13. And evidently that's why we are 15th or 16th in the league. That's fine. I accepted that. I saw that from a long time ago. But I knew that our route to success, as I mentioned from earlier, was through the competitions. Just slightly to just circle around United and cup competitions, we've always made an effort to go as far as we can in cup competitions. And that is the reason why we're in the position we're in now. You know, sorry to bring it back, but Arsenal, they were focused on their Prem and they tried to go for the Prem and bottled it. With United, we knew the Prem was out of bounds. So what do? We try and Carabao Cup, get knocked out in the quarters to Spurs. We try and FA Cup, get knocked out in the penalties in the round of 16. Europa League, we get to the final. We're not gonna, put all our eggs into one basket and say, yeah, Europa League, that's it. No. If we do that, we set ourselves up to failure. And as you saw evidently now, we tried in all those competitions. Two of them didn't work. The third one did, and now we're in a final. And I can't complain. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned previously in my podcast, there is only four trophies a team can win, if excluding winning anything prior to that. Premier League, FA Cup, League Cup, and then European competition. And that's only if you qualify for it. Certain teams can only win three competitions. So am I here going to stand here and say I'm not going to take a Europa League? Of course not. A trophy is a trophy. Let's not even think about the behind the scenes, the money, the exposure, the happiness. Like if we're talking even economically, fans being able to go to another game, all this stuff. It brings awareness, it brings stuff, it brings quality, especially with the Europa League, instant Champions League qualification. Whether people agree with it should go to the Champions League or not, that's their opinion. But as it stands right now, you win the Europa League, you go Champions League, and I'll be shameless and I'll take it. 15th or 16th.
Yeah, I think I agree in terms of the team that wins the Europa. I believe you do deserve to go in the Champions League. What I'm glad they've changed now is if you get knocked out of the Champions League, you get to go into the Europa League. I wasn't a fan of that because I don't think you should be rewarded with getting knocked out of one competition to be allowed to go to another.
You start one competition. You can't then get knocked out and go into
Yeah,
another.
yeah, exactly. It's that you're being rewarded for failure. You're getting two bites at the cherry almost. So I've even seen sort of some fan bases now say, "Oh, it's not fair. This is the first year where Champions League teams aren't allowed to drop in." I'm like, What do you mean? Like, this is how it should. This is how it should have been. If you start the season in the competition, you start in that competition. When you get knocked out, that's it. There's nothing else. You go back to your league and the other cups you're in. But James,
I
what
think
you're
it's,
on?
I think
Yeah,
it's
go on.
going to be it's a tough final to call. I think it's a tough one to call. I think you can't even call it really until the starting 11s are announced because of the injuries and who plays what and all that. I think there's stories for both clubs. I think I think regardless of what happens, I think Tottenham will be looking for a new manager, regardless of if they win or lose. I would like, you know, Man United, will it inject something? Champions League, will it sort of like, do I look at it and think which one of them out of the two would benefit more from being in the Champions League and do something in the Champions League? You lean more towards, say, United, possibly. Um, I just think it's what the rules are. You can't say I'm not going to bring it up again, but I will. Like when West Ham won the Europa Conference, that season was David Moyes' worst season in the Premier League. We finished, I don't know, 14th, 15th or something. But we got to a final, we played a final. No one in their right mind as a West Ham fan would ever deny that final and that atmosphere and that moment in the next day at Stratford and going through the town hall. You then take that league performance, and you accept that. Yes, it's a bit unusual for Man United and Tottenham to be down there. And if you take the bottom three out of the Premier League, the bottom three would be West Ham, Tottenham, Man United, which is a bit sort of, dodgy. But as Vicentham has said, either one of Man United or Tottenham will end up with a trophy, and no one will deny any Tottenham fan or Man United fan celebrating the hell out of it on that evening, and they get the Champions League. And there's no way either team will probably be in a similar situation than what they are now regarding the Premier League next year. So I think it's a tough game to call. I'm not personally, I've said this to you, I think both, but not on here. I'm not a fan of when two teams from the same league get to a final, even if it's two Spanish teams or two attack. I just think it just demoralises that sort of like travelling all like, do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, come on.
Yeah,
It's a bit of a shame. That's not denying that both teams didn't deserve, because there's always more teams from the same league entering a competition. So it could happen. But I just think it's a real shame for Tottenham that they don't dominate that game in terms of like the TV companies in this country, and Man United don't dominate that game because do you know what I mean? I just think they've got to share it. They got,
yeah.
it's just awkward.
It's
It's
almost
like,
like it's. You know what looked weird. You know what looked weird on Instagram. You see, obviously, when you put the preview, you put the two clubs on half of the screen, like they've
yeah,
made it to a final. It was on Sky Sports. I was like, this is giving me FA Cup or Carabao Cup vibes now. It's
yeah.
like
But it's
on the
also
internet.
worrying because it's also giving these people with the mega bucks in Dubai, wherever
Yeah,
the mega buck, thinking this is what we want when we want to do a Premier League weekend away in a different country. This is what
yeah,
we
yeah.
need. This is what we want to
Yes.
showcase. We want to showcase that we can take a round of the Premier League and do it over 5 days, Thursday to Tuesday or
Mm,
whatever, and have it in a different country. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? And like yeah, I just think I think it's a tough game to call. If you're asking me right now, who do I think will win? I think Tottenham will have the momentum. They've beaten Man United 3 times already this season. But I think Man United will edge it because I think some of their players are coming into form and they've got more players to select from. So if I ask me now, right now, who I think will win it, it'd be Man United.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be such a Spurs thing where they've won. That is the most Spurs story ever. They win 3 games. They won the home and away in the league, one in the cup, and then the final.
They
United.
lose.
It's the most Spurs thing. We'll see what happens, obviously. But if anything, it shows sort of how competitive the Premier League is. You have Spurs and United where they've got quality players, but you got no divine right to be in the top 10 in the Premier League. When you look at some of the other teams, we have Bournemouths, these sort of teams, Brightons and stuff like that, and then United can go to what team fourth or fifth in Spain and blitz them over 2 legs. Shows how sort of competitive the Prem is.
And then,
Stuff
and
like that.
then, so what about your boys, Sion?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
what Betis?
you're playing Betis, and that's the Pellegrini, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
your manager used to be on the coaching staff with Pellegrini when he was at West Ham.
Man City. Oh, was it West Ham?
No, when
Oh
he was at West
yeah, West
Ham.
Ham. Yeah,
Man
yeah, yeah.
City. Was it not Man City?
And was he there at Man City as
That
well?
Man
Was
City
that
with
Man City? Yeah, he was at Man City with Pep. I knew
yeah, Man
that,
City
but
with
yeah,
Pep.
I think that
No,
yeah,
but
with
he was
Pellegrini at
at
West Ham.
West Ham with
Yeah,
Pellegrini
yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot that.
because
Forgot about that.
Pablo Fornells plays for Betis as well. Fornells.
Oh, okay,
Pablo.
okay. But I know
So
obviously Anthony's on loan from United.
there's a bit of West Ham connections. So which, just so you can help me, boys, and maybe help our people that are listening, give me the order of like which European final is first. Is it the
Let
Conference,
me check.
Europa League, or
I
Champions
think
League?
I
It's
think
Europa League
it's
first.
Europa.
Europa League
Europa
first.
League first. On what day, please?
21st.
21st May.
And that's an evening kickoff, yes.
Yeah.
And then when's the conference?
The 20th.
28th.
20 what? Sorry.
28th.
28th.
And then
28th.
the Champions League final.
31st.
31st.
That day.
Who do you think wins the Champions League?
I would like to think PSG would win it.
I'd like to
I
think
think
PSG,
I
but I
think
think Inter. Well,
Inter deserve it. I think Inzaghi deserves it.
I mean, usually
Two
when you go
finals in
through,
3 years, I think you deserve to win the second time round.
yeah, I mean, Inter when you look at sort of the timing, like how they had what 4 or 5 minutes left. Because I'll be honest, when Barcelona scored the third, I thought it was over. I thought it was over because of like they were trailing the whole 2 legs, and then you think, oh, they've just nicked it at the end of the second leg. But when Inter sort of go through the way they do, usually if you progress like that, usually you think, oh, it's aligned for them. Everything's sort of aligned for them, but you never know. Who knows?
that
That
old adage,
semi-final.
the name is on the
I
cup.
mean, look, whoever wins the final, it's not a certain club that's gonna win it.
Oh, yeah, I'm chilled. I'm chilled either way. Either way. I mean, I think I
But
would like PSG to win it. They haven't
again,
won it.
if we want to talk a slightly bit, if Inter wins, they can say they beat the team previously in the group stage, and if PSG win, they can say they beat the team in the
Yeah, yeah.
semi-final.
Whoever's won it has been
Won it,
yeah.
they deserve it. And
PSG knocked out
I
all
don't
the
want to hear
English
that
clubs.
team say that they would have gone on to the final and win it.
Yeah,
There's
we just want we want a good final though. We want a good
oh
final.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think all
I think
three
I'm going to
finals.
end on just
I think
one
all
more
three
question.
finals could potentially be really good.
I think if it was to end
So
on one more question, if either team of the Europa League wins the competition, have they had a better season than Arsenal?
100%. Spurs or Man United.
yeah,
Spurs or Man United.
we won
Someone
a
has
trophy.
yeah, someone's had obviously someone's gonna the loser's gonna obviously have nowhere near a season as them, but the winner's had a better season, 100%. You're in the same competition next season, and one person's done it by winning a trophy on route to doing it. 100%.
And you've
Someone
got that. And
one
you've
of
got
but that's
that.
why I said one of them's getting dunk one of them's dunking on Arsenal. It's just a matter of which one.
I think
Yeah,
winning
and
it is
you've got
great. I think just purely because of how low Man United or Tottenham are in the table, I think it just balances it out.
yeah.
Balances it out, but that's what makes them sick. Like when you look at sort of the post-match, the aftermath of the Champions League. Obviously, they're disappointed they got knocked out, but it's the fact what sickens them is the fact that one of them that's going to finish fifth. You're going to finish somewhere between 15th and 17th. One of those two teams is going to end up having a better season than them. That's what they can't stomach.
I think the one question for
Uh,
Arsenal fans is, I think we know majority of them probably would be supporting Man United. It's the thought that
Oh yeah, yeah, they're
they
snookered now. Who
support.
do they support?
Who do they
That's the
support?
question for the Arsenal fans. Who do you supporting for this final? Should we put a poll up or
I'm not
something
being
like that?
funny, Seal. I'm not being funny, Seal. If any Arsenal fans still listen to us now, that's a miracle in itself.
It's a
So
miracle,
it's
man. It's a
irrelevant
miracle.
that question.
I,
I don't
I
think
might
there's no Arsenal fans
I might
listening
clip
right
this bit
now.
and put for the
Yeah,
when I'm
clearly
putting
do.
clips of the thing on
Yeah,
TikTok, I might
yeah.
clip this part.
Christ, I'd applaud any Arsenal fan that answers that or even still listens. But they just had a
Oh,
nightmare season. Tottenham and Man United have had a better season. I'm not
Yeah,
being funny. Nottingham Forest have had a better season than Arsenal. Jesus, come on.
I mean,
That
yeah,
they could just get in the Europa League, let alone the Champions League.
he could still finish.
Newcastle, what
I can't.
season Newcastle have
oh,
had? Newcastle
Newcastle
Oh,
have
League
had a
Cup
season clear.
and get
Newcastle
Champions
season
Newcastle
clear.
League.
season's clear.
What a
Newcastle season's clear.
season.
Newcastle season's clear. Newcastle season's clear. Yeah, yeah.
What a season they've had.
It's
You
clear.
know?
It's the fact when you look like when you like they're gonna be watching everyone in these finals and everything like that. There's nothing they can do. They got nothing to when you come to May when you're always like, what have we got forward to look what have we got to look forward to in May? You're either in a title race, you're in the cups. It's done. So straight away from now,
You look
you
at the
can
top
focus.
five Premier League teams, every one of them, barring Arsenal, have a final to play.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's mad. So now the next you look at the next available trophy now, we're talking February next year. Carabao Cup final. It's nearly a year away, man. Nearly a year away. So yeah, I
But
don't
they'll be
know.
saving themselves for the Champions League, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Anyway, what an emergency podcast. It's amazing when you put the word emergency in. I don't know who brought that word into it. We just said we wanted to do another podcast. It's Sion. This must be his life. Like now that he's left the ditch and playing for their rivals, Average Joes. Who
Nah.
knows why it turned into an emergency? He might have training tonight with
I
Average
got
Joes.
don't worry,
You know
I
that
got
team
the
that
message. I got the
been
messages
in the
saying
ditch the whole time, and
podcast
now
tomorrow. I
I've
got the
never joined
messages here.
Average Joes, but yeah,
I
I
got the
will now.
messages here.
Just
Podcast
because I want
tomorrow.
the trophy. I'm surprised he ain't got the trophy in the background from
I
playing
was
for
on the way
Average
home
Joes.
from work yesterday, and then I was like, "Oh, what podcast?" And then he's like, "Yeah, it's resentment free." He's like, "Yes." Everyone was ready. Everyone was like, "Be there tomorrow."
Look,
Be there
I'm on
tomorrow.
it. We had white smoke yesterday. I'm in a good mood. Don't you worry. Right, finish it off, Sion. Come on.
All right, take care, everyone. Like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you all again soon.